Should you buy a Gladiator Rubicon or a Gladiator Mojave? Find out in today's video. Today I am standing out front of two extremely capable Jeep Gladiators. Now this might be a question that has crossed your mind, I know it has definitely crossed mine, is which Gladiator is right for me, the Mojave or the Rubicon? Both of these are great in their own aspects and they've got a ton of cool features when you look at each of them. In today's video we're going to compare and contrast some of the features on both of these units. Luckily for us they're both in white and they're almost identical when it comes down to it. So we're going to go over a bunch of things on each of these and hopefully help you figure out which one is right for you. Now the Mojave is named after the Mojave Desert and is built for the desert. It's built for sand, it's built for high-speed pre-running and a lot of other cool fast speed environments. Now when you look at the Rubicon, it is named after the Rubicon Trail, a slow and very technical trail in California that is designed to use the low-speed crawling features of everything in this package. So if you're looking to go fast, the Mojave is going to be better for you, and if you're looking to crawl a little bit more, the Rubicon is going to be a better trim. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the Mojave first. Now right away you're going to notice the difference between these two by the power bulge hood here with that front scoop in the center. Now as of the way this sits bone stock, this is not a functional hood scoop like the Hydro Guide on the 392, but overall it looks extremely aggressive, and I like the way that they did this with the Mojave trim. Up front, you're gonna have the standard same Rubicon Highline fender flares. You can see this one has the LED headlights and the front camera appearance package. But one of the coolest things that you get on Mojave on all of them standard is a steel skid plate right up underneath there. Now what that's gonna do is help protect those reservoirs that come with the suspension on this system. Now speaking of suspension, one of the biggest and probably the coolest thing for me with the Mojave is the Fox 2.5 internal bypass shocks. Now those are gonna come up front and in the rear. Up front, they've got a nice long line going all the way to the reservoir, which is tucked up underneath that skid plate. But overall, these shocks perform extremely well. The remote reservoir allows more cooling and allows more higher speeds when you're going off-road, which allows just an overall better ride, even daily driving through Pennsylvania. We've got a ton of potholes and just really nasty roads. Now, another cool thing that they added onto this are the Fox hydraulic bump stops. They're not air bumps, they are hydraulic bump stops, which replace the standard bump stops in the center of your coil spring. Speaking of coil springs, another thing you'll notice with the Mojave, if it looks taller, that's because it is. This sits 1 inch taller than all of the Rubicons to allow more clearance for that suspension and really help you articulate and move at higher speeds. Now speaking of the running gear on this, you're going to have the same engine and transmission options as you will on all other Gladiators, besides the fact that you cannot get the diesel engine in these. It has to do something with the spring rates and the shocks in here, but you can't get a diesel option as of the filming of this video in a Mojave. With that, they did also strengthen a couple things throughout the vehicle. You're going to have upper and lower control arm mounts reinforced. You're going to have engine and transmission mounts that are reinforced too. And you're also going to have the rear bump stop cups strengthened in that frame. Now they designed these in order for you to be able to go faster, not have to worry about any of those components underneath. The Gladiator is longer in nature, so they wanted to make sure it was reinforced so you can beat on it pretty good. Another cool thing with this, when you're talking about the running gear, is these do have the Dana 44s or the M220 and M210 front axles. And what you're going to get with those is with this Mojave, you're going to have a rear locker and an open front differential. Now the rear locker is designed to lock in and really help you get traction when you're in the dunes or you're going at faster paces. And the front being open, it's just a little bit different than the Rubicon. They wanted to leave the front open because you're going to go faster and you probably won't need that front locker as much in this vehicle. They also poked the wheels out an additional 15 millimeters to help you get you a little bit wider of additional track and give you some more clearance for that shock up front. Now another cool thing in the front suspension here is that I actually just found out, I didn't know about, they use steel knuckles in the Mojave front suspension. Now much like the Extreme Recon video we just did that uses steel knuckles on the front, this one's going to use the same thing to be reinforced and really take more and more abuse when you're going at faster speeds. So as with many Jeep trims, Jeep decided to flow that orange accent right throughout the interior, and I absolutely love the way that they did it with the Mojave. It's not just an interior package on here as far as beauty and all the Mojave stitching and orange stitching throughout the seats and the steering wheel and the dash. There are some functional upgrades to the Mojave. The first one is that these seats do have larger bolsters, and that's to help hug you when you're going faster off-road. The next thing that is an improvement over the Rubicon or other trims is the steering wheel. This has increased thumb cutouts here for when you're driving at higher speeds. It feels lighter in my opinion, and also the perforation on this side does help this steering wheel breathe a little bit easier and helps your hands dry out if you're sweating. Another cool thing that I just noticed too, well, actually I've known it for a little bit, but I just wanted to see it in person again, is that the dash piece is in this gray color, but it almost feels a rough texture. Now hopefully that was done for a reason, and I'm thinking it was done to make it kind of feel like sand here. That would be neat in my opinion to do that. But as you can see, this one is in the manual transmission. We have our rear locker and our off-road plus mode, and this one is really well optioned out with just an overall clean looking interior that flowed the orange in very nicely. So guys, we're gonna move right on to the Rubicon, and if you look, it's really neat to have both of these right next to each other. One Rubicon and one Mojave that have color match fenders, white top. They're almost identical when it comes down to it. But looking at the Rubicon, you can see that the hood is different. This is the standard Rubicon hood on all JLs and JTs. It's got 2 vents on either side as opposed to 1 center vent, and it's got a larger bulge and kind of dish around the outside. If you look at it, it is lower on the cowl too. So the Mojave is completely raised up, probably about an inch, almost an inch and a half compared to the Rubicon hood. We've got the Highline fenders available in black or color match like this. I personally like them color match. It flows right into the body. Same grille on here, a different front bumper and a different skid plate. So this has got the steel front bumper with the steel skid plate. But if you look underneath, the skid plate kind of identical in shape, but it still does not serve the same purpose as that one where it's protecting the remote reservoirs. This one is protecting your disconnecting front sway bar and all of your other goodies underneath. Now, speaking of running gear, same engine and transmissions available on the Rubicon. However, you can get the diesel option with this. I personally had a 2021 JL diesel. I loved it, and you can do that on the Rubicon Gladiators. So the only engine you can't get on any of these Gladiators yet is the 392, which Jeep, if you're listening, please throw one of those into these. Now, same thing on here. You do have the reinforced M220 rear axle and the M210 front. Now, those are both reinforced on the Rubicon, and with this one, you do get the rear and the front lockers. So you get lockers in both to really help you lock these up and get better traction when you're off-roading and wheeling. Another cool thing with this one is you have a disconnecting front sway bar. You've got a button right inside that allow you to disconnect that sway bar and articulate a whole heck of a lot more than the Mojave can. Wheels are going to be optional. You can do 2 different options, and they are going to be 15 millimeters inset compared to the Mojave, so they don't stick out as wide because they don't need to on this one. They don't need to clear a huge shock or a reservoir up front. The one cool thing about the Rubicon though, still on here, they did include the Fox shocks. So they're a Fox monotube aluminum body shock. Now these shocks don't have reservoirs, but they are still a Fox shock with an aluminum body. I really loved it on my 2020 Gladiator, and when I decided to lift it, it almost stank to rip off those really nice shocks on here. If you're gonna be really comparing both of these and you wanna lift your Jeep like 4 or 5 inches or lift it up crazy, the Rubicon's gonna be a great option for you because the Mojave, really the biggest part or one of the biggest parts of it is that Fox 2.5 suspension. So here we are in the interior of the Rubicon, and overall there are some big differences in this. The first one that I've really noticed just being right next to a Mojave is the bolstering on the seats. You can see this is much lower on the Rubicon. While that is nice, the Mojave does give you a little bit more grip when you're sitting in there and hugging those turns. Now moving on to the dash, you can see the biggest thing, love it or hate it, the only way to remove this red dash is to get the dark saddle leather, but that red dash is really reminiscent of the Rubicon red. The stitching is throughout here. This one does feature an automatic transmission, and then of course, your front and rear and your rear only lockers, off-road plus mode, and your disconnecting sway bar. On the steering wheel, this does not have as big of an indent here for your thumb. There's no perforation on the leather, and it feels a little bit heavier than the Mojave steering wheel. So overall, a great wheel and a great looking interior that flows the red in, but a couple main differences in between the two. Well guys, this is a fun video, and honestly, it was a great opportunity to check out 2 almost identical Gladiators, both with their own pros and cons. Now I've gotten the chance to drive both of these. I've owned a Rubicon Gladiator that I had lifted up on 37s, and I absolutely love my Rubicon. It was great off-road, it had that front locker, and when I lifted it up, it was a great vehicle for me. They're great like this stock, but the Rubicon is gonna be definitely a lot easier and a lot less, I would say, damaging to the wallet when you go to lift and modify one of these because you're not ripping off a $3,000 to $4,000 suspension like you are on the Mojave. Now, speaking on the Mojave, I've had the chance to drive this as well. And the cool thing with the Mojave is that in Pennsylvania, especially if you guys are in a state where the roads aren't the greatest, this thing handles absolutely incredibly around the corners, around the turns, and throughout some rough daily driving conditions. Overall, both of these are available right now. They're both used vehicles. And if you're looking to order a brand new one, definitely reach out. We're giving great deals. And there's a reason people are ordering from all over the country here with Susquehanna Automotive. It's because we're giving great deals and a great experience to you guys. Now, if you guys have any other comments or want any other vehicles reviewed, definitely drop a comment below. I love to check those out. And if you want to stay tuned to all the cool content we have going, be sure to like and subscribe. I'm sure you guys already know that. And if you're following along, thank you. Now, until next time, I'm Matt from Susquehanna Automotive, and I'll catch you on the next one.